a snake coiled around a sleeping man's face. That's how it starts, not on a battlefield, not in an arena, in a slave market, with a woman staring down at the man she loves, reading something in that moment that terrifies her. She's a prophetess. Her name isn't recorded, only her gift. And what she sees coiled around her husband's face isn't a bad omen. It's worse than that. She tells him it means he's marked for power, great power, and power that ends in something terrible. Neither of them yet knows how right she is. His name is Spartacus. Before any of this, he was a free man, a warrior from the highlands of Thrace, a land Rome had spent generations trying to fully conquer and never quite managed. He was unusually sharp. The ancient writers who documented his life describe him as intelligent, even cultured, in a way that surprised the Romans who expected nothing but savagery from a Thracian. At some point, he served in Rome's own army, fighting under the very banner he'd eventually turn his sword against. Then he deserted. What happened next is genuinely disputed. Some accounts say he led raids in the hills as an outlaw, refusing to just disappear quietly. Whatever it was, it caught up with him. Rome captured him, and this time, his wife was taken too. Two free people marched south in chains, about to be sold like livestock. For his wife, an unknown fate. For Spartacus, something very specific. Sold to a man named Lentulus Batiatus, who ran a gladiator school in Capua, so cruel that even by the brutal standards of the time, it stood out. Picture what that actually meant. A soldier, not a criminal. An intelligent man who once commanded respect, now stripped down to a number and handed a sword, trained for one purpose, killing other enslaved men for a Roman crowd's entertainment. No record survives of what happened to him in that arena. What we know is what he became there. A heavy gladiator called a murmillo, built for grinding, close-range combat, strong enough and skilled enough that the men around him started listening when he talked. And in 73 BC, he started talking about something Batiatus never saw coming. Roughly 200 gladiators in that school began plotting an escape. Only about 70 made it out the door. Spartacus among the leaders, alongside two Gallic fighters named Crassus and Oenomaus. No swords, no shields, just kitchen knives and meat skewers grabbed in the chaos of the break. That should have been the end of it. 70 escaped slaves with kitchen knives against the Roman Republic isn't a rebellion. It's a manhunt that hasn't happened yet. On the road out of Capua, they hit a wagon carrying real gladiatorial weapons and armor. Now it's a different problem. They retreat to the slopes of Mount Vesuvius. Not yet the volcano the world remembers from Pompeii, but a natural fortress all the same, ringed with cliffs that make a direct assault nearly impossible. Rome sends a small force under a praetor named Glaber, who doesn't take this seriously enough to send more. He blockades the one accessible path up the mountain and settles in to starve them out. At night, the rebels do something Glaber never accounts for. They weave ropes out of wild vines growing on the cliffside and climb straight down an unguarded stretch of sheer rock in the dark. Glaber's men are asleep in their camp below when the attack hits from behind. It's over before most of them understand what's happening. Word of that victory rips through southern Italy faster than Rome can contain it. Slaves, shepherds, rural poor with nothing left to lose. They come to Spartacus by the thousands. Ancient sources disagree wildly on the numbers, anywhere from the tens of thousands to well over 100,000. But even the low estimate puts his forces at genuine military scale within a single year. This isn't a mob. Spartacus organizes them like an army, because he'd once served in one. drilling, discipline, forged weapons instead of scavenged ones. 2 more Roman armies are sent against him. Both are destroyed. Not every victory comes without cost. Crassus, one of the 2 men who helped lead the original escape, is eventually cornered and killed by a Roman legion after splitting off with part of the army. What Spartacus does next is the most morally complicated moment in the entire story, and it deserves to be told honestly instead of smoothed over. He takes 300 captured Roman soldiers and forces them to fight to the death as a funeral rite for his friend, the exact same spectacle that had once been forced on him. The man who hated the arena had just recreated it. By late 72 BC, Spartacus commands the largest slave uprising in Roman history and stands at the decision that defines everything after. The plan, most accounts agree, is to cross the Alps and let his followers scatter home to freedom, Thrace, Gaul, wherever they came from. He nearly makes it, defeating yet another Roman army along the way. Then, at the edge of the mountains, he turns south. Some ancient writers say his own followers refused to leave Italy, unwilling to give up the freedom and plunder they'd already carved out on Roman soil. Others claim Spartacus himself intended to march on Rome. We genuinely don't know which is true. What we know is that this decision costs him everything. Rome, humiliated 3 times over, stops treating this like a policing problem. The Senate hands command to Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of the richest men alive, with 8 legions and 1 order. End this. Crassus corners the rebels in southern Italy and builds a fortified wall to trap them there. Spartacus's army breaks through it anyway in a desperate winter escape, but the walls are closing for real this time. A second Roman army under Pompey is already marching down from the north. Spring, 71 BC. Crassus closing from one direction, Pompey from the other. Before the battle, Spartacus does something his men never forget. He brings his own horse forward and kills it in front of all of them. If he wins, he tells them, he'll have his pick of the finest Roman horses left on the field. If he loses, he won't need one at all. He fights his way directly toward Crassus, cutting down 2 centurions who come at him before he's finally surrounded and overwhelmed. His body is never confirmed found among the dead. 6,000 surviving rebels are crucified along the Appian Way, the road from Capua to Rome, left as a warning stretching for over 100 miles. A snake coiled around a sleeping man's face, a wife who read it as an omen of terrible power. She was right. Just not in the way anyone in that slave market could have imagined. Spartacus didn't abolish slavery. He didn't win. By any practical measure, his rebellion failed completely. But nearly 2,000 years later, his name is still the one people reach for whenever they talk about refusing the chains they were born into. That's the true story of Spartacus. No invented villains, no Hollywood extras, just what actually happened. If you want more true stories of history's greatest warriors, subscribe.